help people, what does that mean? So for me, it was uncovering and supporting people in releasing the most vulnerable judgments that they have about themselves. Because ladies, that is the number one thing that's stopping you from anything that you want to do in your life.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 214 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Today, I am sitting down with Jenn Beninger. Now, Jenn is so interesting. She has such this amazing journey inside of coaching and the traditional coaching response. I just want to help people, right? Like all of us weepy coaches who want to make a big difference in the world. Jenn is one of them, but she's also turned her expertise into something very cool. I hope you pay attention at the end. She ends up coaching me, which neither one of us intended, but I was sharing about something and I remembered something from when I was 7. Who knew? So cool, directly about money, which is something I still teach about today. It was fascinating and so much fun. I hope you love that part. Jenn Beninger is the Genius Unlocked founder and CEO of Genius Unlocked Coaching Institute, which is a board-certified company where she coaches, mentors, and transforms leaders' personal and professional lives. Through her thousands of hours of executive experience, Jenn has refined the art of coaching others on how to delve into what's holding them back and guiding them to successfully live in their purpose by calling on their intuition. With her deep understanding of energy work, intuition, communication skills, and mindset, Jenn is able to produce more breakthroughs and results for herself and her clients. Achieving mastery is one of Jenn's core values, and it has been the center of her education, training, and work. One of the other things I think you're really going to enjoy about this interview is how much Jenn knows, number one, about how our brains work and how that drives our behavior. I mean, how many times have you said to yourself, why did I just do that? Or did I just do that again? She really dives into the 4 voices. I hope you pay attention to that part as well. And really listening for what happens to you on a daily basis when you go to make change or you set a goal and you don't achieve it. What's actually at work there? If you can listen to today's podcast episode through that lens and really pull this conversation towards yourself, I think you're going to get so much value. So pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Jenn, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. From one coach to someone who helps coaches, I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you for having me. I am very excited to share and have this conversation with you for your listeners. And I cannot wait till we dive into these fascinating topics we're going to talk about today.
Gooey goodness coming at you. All right, Jenn, but first, before we dive into how you support coaches and what it is that you offer the world, I need to understand, and I want the audience to understand why this work. Like why, of all the things in the world that you could choose to do, why is this what you do?
I love that question because it comes down to what is that inner genius that each of you have inside of you. And it took me a hot minute, couple years, a hot minute to really tap into what my genius was. So I grew up knowing, which a lot of coaches might relate to this, is I grew up knowing that I really, truly wanted to help people. And most of people who want to help other people is because they experience something in their life that they want to support others going through, whatever that is. It doesn't matter what that is. You stem from that. So I grew up saying I want to help people. So then I was like, I went to college because that's what I was supposed to do, right? And I got my degree in psychology. And I just like, this is how I'm going to go. So I have a bachelor's of science in psychology. And I was like, I'm going to go help people and be on the side of the therapist side. Well, I got to be fair. I got into my junior year of college and I was like, I don't want to do therapy.
It's tough work, man. Those courses are a joke. Yeah.
It is not a thing. So I was like, okay, so I want to go. And so I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do instead? So I started working. I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I even started that out when I was in Girl Scouts, right? It's like I was the top cookie salesman in Girl Scouts. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I wanted to be able to process and control the possibilities of what I wanted to do with my life. Well, I did a stint. I live in the Silicon Valley. So I did a stint in corporate America. And at that time I was married and my husband and I were going through a lot of infertility struggles. Yeah. And I knew it was related to stress, but I couldn't really connect to it. So I was starting a part-time business. So we were struggling through this infertility. And I just got this feeling, I didn't know what it was called at the time. And I was like, I deserve to quit my job. Now, I'm not telling anybody out there to quit their job. I just knew I needed to, because for me, it was the stress and it was very important to me to have a family. So I was like, I wanted to help others, and I knew I needed to help myself first. So I remember coming home and telling my husband at the time, I was like, oh, I just so you know, I put in my notice in corporate America, making about half of our income, right? So my ex-husband, now he's an ex-husband, that's all good, is in law enforcement. So it was, I want to really go out and do this.
Financially.
It was a huge hit.
Yeah.
But I knew I had it inside of me that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I followed that feeling. And I didn't know what it was called at the time. I didn't know it was my quote intuition. Some of us have got those feelings. Mm-hmm. So then I realized, oh, wait, I can have this control of my life. Well, of course, then I get pregnant, right? After 4 years of infertility, right? I'm literally that person, of course. So it was stress. I went through all of that. I've done it all. And at that time, I was like, I really don't want to go back into corporate America. I want to help others, right? It's that help others with whatever is stopping them, like what's going on inside of them. Well, I didn't also realize that I was really working with a conscious mind. So I became a business coach, and I was a very good business coach. I could support business owners starting a business or growing their business to the first 6, multiple 6, or even 7 figures. So I was very much working, not understanding the intuition piece. I just was very good at telling people what to do if you want to make money. Well, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Sarah, is my clients didn't do what I told them to do.
Never.
And I was like, I never tell you what to do. Right. And I'm like, I'm pulling my hair out. I was like, I don't understand why you're not doing what I told you to do. I can help you, right? There's that helping others that was coming out. But I was trying to tell them what to do and be an outside force. So I did that for a while, and I was successful, and it was great, but it was also exhausting. I don't know if any of you have felt, if you're not really truly tapping into your inner genius, is it exhausting? So then I started doing the unconscious mind work. And I started with what was called personal development. Yes. I was like, what's going on inside of us? And I started doing that work. And then I remember walking into one of my first neurolinguistic programming or deep interpersonal work seminar. And I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, because this time my husband and I are starting to struggle a little bit. I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, I can save my marriage. So if I can save my marriage, I can help others do the same. Well, at the end of it all, I realized that I saved myself instead, because I was living with outside influences directing where I wanted to go. And I truly, truly wanted to help people. So again, it's that basic theme that's really chunked up, right? It's like, help people. Well, how specifically? Like doctors, lawyers, nurses, all these other people, help people. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. So for me, it was uncovering and supporting people in releasing the most vulnerable judgments that they have about themselves. Because ladies, that is the number one thing that's stopping you from anything that you want to do in your life, is that the most vulnerable judgment that you have about yourself. It has nothing to do with outside influences.
More, by the way, I love that so much. I hope you guys really just stop and listen to what she just said, which is being afraid of what other people will think or outside influences is stopping you from having what it is you really want. Just had to underscore that real quick, Jen, because that was profound. Yes. And true.
Thank you so much for that, because that is what I would love for the ladies and women that are on this call, is to really understand that what is inside of you, that inner genius that's inside of you, is truly what you get to do to support and help other people. And as coaches, that's what we want to do. We want to do that. So when I started understanding that it's what's going on in the internal world is how your external world is presenting itself to you. And I started working and doing that work and going deeper and deeper. And we do a multi-modality when we help coaches. We do multi-modalities. It's not just one thing that's going to solve it, because everyone has different judgments about themselves. The main thing is to understand that I really preface. And so I'm pausing just to really, this is another toothpick. We call it toothpicks. Like that little toothpick we want you to pick up is that your conscious mind, ladies, is what sets your goals. You set your goal with your conscious mind. I want this. I deserve this. I want the income. I want the business. I want to help people. I want that health. I want that wealth. I want that spirituality. I want that family. I want that interpersonal, whatever that is, self-love, whatever that is, your conscious mind is setting the goal. Your unconscious mind is the goal getter. So if you're set with your conscious, but your unconscious mind is the goal getter. So if they're not in alignment and you're living in your unconscious mind with these self-doubts, with these projections of what you think other people are going to say to you, fear. I get it. I've been all there. I've been all of these. The only reason I can do what I do is because I've been through it. I've used the tools and I've got results. That's the basis of what I share with the world. And so I started developing that. And I realized that when I was going through, I was married for 25 years. So it wasn't a quick thing. But I realized is that I wasn't honoring myself and my inner genius, and we were not good for each other, except I had all of those internal negative thoughts and emotions. I'm not going to be able to support. I mean, I went from my family to my parents to my college to my marriage. So I was like, where am I going? How am I going to support myself? How am I going to do all of this? And I had 2 daughters, and I realized that I had all these external judgments. We call them identities. So I had an identity that I attached that was given to me from outside. This is it. So ladies, you have an identity that was given to you from the outside. I was supposed to go to college. I was supposed to work in corporate America. I grew up with that negative thought of my entire family thinking that entrepreneurs were shysters.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yep. Because every family has kind of those unspoken beliefs about other people, right? So interesting.
That's
so
that identity. So I was like, okay, well, then I was a cop's wife. So I was not going to be a statistic. Darn it. I was going to be one of the marriages with law enforcement that was going to make it. So I'm holding on to this identity that someone else gave me. No one else gave me. I mean, I was like, I didn't want to be a statistic.
Right.
Then I had the other identity. Well, I'm a really good coach. So if I'm really good, then why can I not save my marriage?
Yes.
So I had all of these things that were unconsciously stopping me from creating the business and the life that I wanted, that my conscious mind was setting. So when I realized integrating the conscious and the unconscious mind, getting them to communicate with each other, understanding the alignment. And that's where I found really the intuition depth work, because your intuition is the translator between your conscious and your unconscious mind.
Oh my God, you totally just answered my next question, because I was like, okay, Jenn, this is amazing. But how do we know when, the intellectual striving part of us, right, is like setting goals? You're like, well, I'm supposed to look like this. I'm supposed to want 6 figures. I hate that so much. I'm supposed to do this, right? It's gross. So there's like these outward things we're supposed to want, which PS, you might not even really want, but you're supposed to want. And then there is what's happening for us on a subconscious level, right? And the subconscious brain that's constantly watching what's going on the outside world really takes in everything and understands things we can't even imagine.
That's right.
How do we know when those 2 things are aligned? Like, oh my gosh, how do we figure that out? What does that feel like? What shifts in somebody when they get those 2 things to be aligned?
That is the basis of our work. So the greatest synopsis of what we do is supporting people in understanding, and we call it the 4 voices. So really chunk it down. Now, the 4 voices, again, it's not necessarily a new concept. So some of you might be hearing this like, oh, I've heard this before. What we like to encourage our clients and our coaches is to, even if you've heard it before, you want to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, how well am I implementing it? Because just because you heard it doesn't mean that you're implementing it. And how can I take this deeper for myself and my clients? Because we all know this as coaches, you are the lid to your client. So your ability to go inside and release the most vulnerable judgments about yourself allows you to bring that to your clients. So if you're willing to go there, they're going to be able to go there because you're the lid to your clients. So the deeper you go in your own self-healing, it will reflect. You can charge more. Again, it's not about the hitting that 6 figures. It's about that value.
Well, it's about having that be aligned, right? Like the value you're providing should match the price that it costs. Yeah.
And it's your belief in the value that you're providing, because money, this is the biggest thing. I do a whole program on wealth. Money is a positive exchange of energy. That's what money is. Money is not dead presidents on paper, or whatever we hear out in the cliche world, right? Money is a positive exchange of energy. So if you have a positive, what we call projection around your value, you will then easily and effortlessly bring in what you feel that you're worth. So that's all around that value that you perceive. And if you feel in your unconscious mind that you are not valuable, you can set money goals all day long. And since it's a positive exchange of energy of value and you feel not valuable or unworthy, then they're not in alignment. So those of you that are listening, just kind of imagine that in your mind. Those of you that are watching, I've got my hands separated, right? It's like you're setting your goal here. Your unconscious mind's like, well, I'm over here saying, nope.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, this is what's so powerful also about the work that we do is we're obsessed with how the brain works. So if you can understand how the brain is working, then you have that power back inside of you. So if you know that you set a goal at the conscious mind and your unconscious mind is stopping you, then you can go down and figure it out. And I'll share with how to do that. Just think about for 1 second that you've set a goal and you've hit. Everyone on this line has set a goal and you've hit it. What your brain did is you were in a total alignment. You set a goal, your unconscious mind's like, yeah, let's go get it. What we want to teach and what we teach is that is something that you can denominalize. You can find the steps of what you did so you can repeat it over and over and over again. It is not luck. It is not fate. It was, oh my gosh, I hit a goal. This is why I can now repeat it over and over again. That's why we're so passionate about this, because then you've set a goal and not hit it.
Totally. Well, who hasn't?
So you can
right?
do the same. Yeah. So you can do the same thing. You can go inside and you could be like, so what was not working? 99.9999999% of the time, it's a negative thought or emotion that you're holding in your unconscious mind that once you release it. So now I'm going to tell you what the answer to your question is. Well, what do you do with that? Your intuition is that translator between the conscious and the unconscious mind.
Okay.
Your other three voices are your inner critic, your inner child, and your inner ego. Okay. So the question that we have our clients ask is, what I is talking? What I in quotes is talking?
Interesting.
So if you're saying I'm not good enough,
right,
or I'm not worthy, most likely that's your I of your inner critic. Your inner ego digs in to be right. So I know this is right. I am right. And right now I have a 16-year-old. We deal a lot with that.
Yes. So tough at that age. Yes. Yes.
A lot with I'm right. Well, her inner ego, because your inner ego, ladies, it protects that identity that you've given yourself or that was given to you. So it wants to protect that identity. That identity served you up until a point. It's not serving you anymore. Your inner critic is the one that's saying, you're not valuable, you're not worthy. Now your inner child, if your inner child is talking, this is one that's fear-based or hurt base.
Got it. Okay.
So if you're like, I'm going to get
tender, it's the more tender of those voices.
And it's
a
lot of feeling unsafe. So some people feel emotionally unsafe. Some people feel physically unsafe. And again, this is based on, what your experiences are growing up. So your inner child wants that protection. So your ego protects your inner child and your inner critic protects the identity that you've already created, because your inner critic, ladies, knows how to do the problems that you have right now. It's called patterns. How many of you have pattern? Like you've dated the same person, you've had the same boss, the same client shows up.
Dating the same guy, right? Like I hear that so often. Yeah, I keep getting the same crazy client. That's it. Yeah, that's that idea.
It's your inner critic saying, I know how to deal with this problem. It doesn't want to go outside and it doesn't want to push to the next because it doesn't know how to deal with that. It wants to be like, I know how to deal with dating this kind of a person. I know how to deal with this kind of a client.
I know how to deal with being broke. Right? Yeah, that's a big one, I think, for people too. So good, Jen. So good.
So so your intuition, I'm eventually going to answer your question. We have like 4 hours, right? And I'll get to the answer about 4 hours from now. Your intuition gives you the learnings that you deserve to learn about yourself so that they can quiet down. So what does that look like?
Okay.
So number one, your intuition is always kind. Always. Always. So if you're hearing inner thoughts that are not kind, it is not your intuition. Never. And I need to bring my prop next time. And your intuition may not always be gentle. It's that kick in the pants.
It's kind, but not necessarily. So it would be kind and firm, right?
Yes.
Is that kind of the correct?
That's exactly right. So it's that gut punch. It's that aha. So our clients have lovingly labeled it. It's like getting hit in the face with a dead fish. You just get that.
So gross, but okay.
So then this is what we did. So then we named the fish Wanda. So I'm aging myself right here, a fish called Wanda. So we call it Wanda. So then like our clients will use that a fish emoji. They're like, oh, I just got that gut punch. I just got that awareness. Like that Wanda just came out of nowhere, like bam.
And that's the
So
intuition. Is that
that's
sort of,
your
but it's an
intuition.
interrupter, it sounds like too, because you got these other voices going on and it's sort of like
Yes.
interrupts. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes,
Got it.
and in the sense that you have to go ask your intuition. So your other three voices, they're a bull in the china shop.
Got it.
You have to be willing to go to your intuition and say, hey, what does this mean? So when you think about your other three inner voices, the other three eyes, think of it, this is the metaphor I like to use. Think of it as your gaslight coming on in your car.
Okay.
Or even more annoying, because they're very annoying, is the battery going out in your smoke detector.
The worst.
At
The
3 a.m.
worst.
every time.
Yes. Always.
And
Why? Yes.
you don't know which smoke detector it is. So sometimes you don't know what inner voice it is. You want to jam it with a broomstick to get it to shut up.
Right.
So one of the things that I want to be super clear about when you're talking about the four voices is we never ever, and if you did it before this moment, that's totally fine. Don't blame and shame yourself. You never want to blame, shame, lock them in a corner, tell them to shut up, give them nasty names.
Right.
I went to a seminar once where they told me to take my inner critic, and it was this image of putting it in a cage and locking it into the back of my unconscious mind.
That
and I'm like,
make it very loud.
well, not only that, but they're part of you. Why are you being mean to yourself?
Yeah.
So what we say is your intuition. I actually do a meditation. It's called the Four Voices, and it's part of the free gift that you all are that you guys will receive. It's called the Four Voices meditation, and it's about how to listen and discern which inner voice is talking. Your intuition comes in and gets the learning. So let's say that you're like, I don't feel like I'm valuable. So you can ask your intuition, well, what do I deserve to learn? And your intuition will give you those qualities and characteristics that you have, you just don't believe in. So it'll say you're strong, you're compassionate, you're intuitive. Okay. You like look at all of these things. Your intuition shines a light on the positive qualities and characteristics that you suppressed in order to live in this human experience.
To fit in where everybody else wants you to fit in. Yeah.
And it does stem from, so yes, it does stem from 0 to 7. Because again, you brought into this world as source sees you, whatever definition of source you have. It does not matter to me. It could be God, it could be the universe, it could be universal consciousness, it could just be source, whatever that is for you. I do not define it for our clients. Your intuition reminds you of how source sees you. That's your intuition's job. So your other three voices, depends on where you really do believe in why you're on this planet in the first place. If you think about it, that your four voices are a way for you to learn more about yourself, then you honor all of them. You're like, oh, it's interesting. My inner ego is wanting me to learn this about myself. So it's like, it's just a warning light. We get annoyed, yes, with the battery, but what do? We just change the battery.
We fix it. Yeah, we address it, right? We deal with it.
So you find that inner critic, that inner child, or that inner ego's purpose. So with our work, like we take you through, first you want to identify like what is your four voices, and then you learn how to get the learnings from them so you can do that. Then as you go through all of this, you give them, then the next step is to give them new jobs. Because right now, they have a job that is still serving you, but not really in that hun.
It's not lined up with where you want to go. It's serving in the areas that you're learning about yourself. And you want to have a little bit more of maybe the captain's steer on that. To be like, so we're going to go this way, guys. Kind of like that. Is that right?
That's right. So you want to give them a new job. You want to move your inner child from being hurt and scared and fear into learning all that you need to learn and understanding that there are the warning signs and they have a job and that's purpose. Then your inner child's new job becomes that playful side. Then the third step, and this is where we really want to move everyone to, is then integrating all of them. So that it's your way of being, it's who you are. So that if they do kind of flare up, you're like,
they will, right? From time to time,
yes,
for sure.
No, of course, that's your warning. That's why you're on a human plane. This is the human experience. If you were to be all intuition all the time, you'd be enlightened. Great. That's in being in the physical world, right? We have the spiritual mind, the mental mind, the emotional mind, and the physical mind. It's being in the physical world. That's the purpose of being here, is to learn more about yourself so that you can create and become how source sees you. So whatever that is for you.
Right.
Again, I'm being very vague on the purpose of, because it's about people, what's their purpose on this life? Well, how do you find your purpose? You find your purpose by listening to your 3 inner voices. They're going to give you the warning signs. Your intuition's going to give you the learnings. Now you have your purpose.
Got it.
So
it's really
interaction.
What does that feel like? I'm envisioning someone almost like their shoulders drop for a sec and they're like, oh, I can breathe. I can be a person. Is that what it feels like?
Yes. I love that you just said that, because like I said, we're multi-modality, and we certify in 8 entry-level certifications, and one of them is somatic.
Okay.
So think of this triangle. I love that you just asked the question. So just imagine a triangle. So those of you that are listening, just imagine a triangle in your mind's eye. Okay. So in the bottom left-hand corner is what we call the conscious mind. The conscious mind is our modalities of like neuro-linguistic programming coaching and ICF, International Coaching Federation. It's that conscious mind talking and understanding, what is your conscious mind doing? So that's in this corner. Then in the other corner, in the opposite corner, is your unconscious mind. So we also certify in hypnotherapy and energy work. So a lot of us can go and do conscious reframing, but it's not solving it in the unconscious mind, which is where all of that neurology is happening in the unconscious mind. Some of us are very versed in the unconscious mind. They do hypnotherapy and they do energy work. Well, guess what? It works. 1,000,000% it works. Your conscious mind, they're too separated. Your conscious mind doesn't believe it worked.
Got it. Okay.
So then you go to the top of the triangle. Now you're integrating the conscious and the unconscious mind. And how do you do that? You do that with neuro-linguistic programming, somatic coaching, and timeline therapy, because and then the catalyst to it all is your intuition. So your conscious mind isn't convinced. They're too far apart. You want to integrate it at the top of the triangle. So what does that feel like? It is literally that. Your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical minds and bodies shift. You release it in your cells. So we do a lot of talking about the mind and the body, which is the somatic piece. So all of you, any one of you that has an ailment of any kind in your body, it is related to an emotional negative thought and emotion. You release that and you can relieve that. Your body takes that traumatic experience. And ladies, the definition of trauma is you're in a heightened emotional state, and you connect something to it. It could be a one-time event. It could be a reoccurring event. And in your definition of trauma is your definition of trauma.
I love that. I think that's so important for people to hear, because sometimes I've heard a lot of judgment around that too. Like, oh, just get over it. Or God, it wasn't that big of a deal. And it's like, no, we don't get to judge what the internal experience was like for someone else.
Because it's neurologically, scientifically happening in your brain. So who are you to judge? There's no blaming, shaming, or judgment. So your definition of trauma, like we had a client that we worked with where he had a traumatic breakup in high school where he was humiliated. It causes huge thing. He became a hermit. He never moved out of his parents' house, and when his mom passed away at 97, he's in his 70s still living in that. He still has that connection. That was a trauma experience for him. Well, by the time he came, now he's no longer there. Because his mom passed. That's actually why he came to us. And we found the root. It's when you're coaching, you want to find the root cause. We found the root. We released that in timeline therapy, which is getting those learnings. We use quantum physics. We use all of that to release it in the brain. You're rewiring your unconscious mind. He got the learnings, and now he has a job. He still lives in the house, but he doesn't have the same attachment to it. He has a job, which he didn't have. He loves people. He has friends. He goes golfing, and he didn't even know he liked golf. He didn't find golf till he's 70 years old.
Wow.
So that is the power of the work. And it's in the physical body. So your definition of trauma, so I don't want to put that on anybody. You're all free from that. It's your definition and your client's definition. Let them define what it was for them.
Yes, please. Yes.
Is in every cell in their body. So when you release that that's why unconscious mind works. It's just the conscious mind doesn't believe it.
Got it. Got it.
So that's why you want to integrate the two. And how you do that is with your intuition to get those learnings. So yes, it is a physical body release. It is what we call a shift in projection. So this is another really powerful, and I want to do too many concepts, and I want to answer this question this way, because I have a Thursday morning intuition call. Every Thursday morning, we had like 60 people on the call this morning. And I asked 2 questions. How has your intuition supported you? What questions do you have? And then we talked for an hour. So this woman got this testimonial today. Now I know this isn't the day that we're releasing this, just today. She said, Jen, she goes, I felt abandoned by my mom.
Oh, wow.
Because she was married to the man who abused me, who was her stepdad. And she wasn't believed until later in life. So she grew up, her mom finally understood and then divorced. And that wound was still there. And the mom did whatever she could, yet she didn't want to deal with the trauma. So she blamed a lot on the kid, which is the daughter is our client. So her birthday is tomorrow. So she cleaned up the projections, which is she did all the unconscious mind work of what is that? What is my root cause? She released all of that. She goes, I released the blame, the shame, me not feeling good enough, me like I deserved it. Some people who have trauma think that they deserved it.
Yes,
she's been working with us for not quite a year, about 6 months or so. And she released all of that. And she gets on the call today and she says, Jen, she goes, it's like my mom was like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't even know who that person was.
Wow.
She told me she loved me. She told me she wanted to see pictures of my family. She apologized for how she grew up, nothing specific. And she goes, I don't even understand how that's the same person that I've had. It's because of what our client was holding on to. She was experiencing that in her outside world. When she cleaned up her inside world, her outside world changed.
It's so
Any
profound.
of you don't like your outside world, it's your inside world that deserves to change.
It reflects out, right? I mean, it's like, it really is that idea of we project out what's happening internally. And so the idea that anything we want to affect outwardly, we can affect by dealing with what's inside. Jen, this has been unbelievable. I'm totally excited. Like, oh my God.
So ladies, your 2 most vulnerable places about you is your bank account and the bedroom. So money and sex are your most vulnerable. Think about it. That is where you're the most vulnerable.
No, I just totally leaned in. For those of you not watching, I just put my chin on my hand. I was like, tell me all the things, Jen.
Because that are the 2 most intimate and vulnerable places you could be, is your bank account and the bedroom. So where your most vulnerable judgments of yourself are going to appear is going to be in one of those 2 places. So that if you can understand that first and say, oh, money is a positive exchange of energy. It's the most vulnerable place where I am at. We do what we do, wealth forecasting, so people can see where they're going to go with their money, so that then their unconscious mind is like, ooh, let's go get that. Let's go clean up all of our stuff. So how your intuition relates to wealth is you're going to do this exercise. Okay. And I'll be quick. You want to do this exercise. When you think about your bank account, you're going to replay this podcast and you're going to 5-star it. And then you're going to save it, because this is the exercise. No, I'm serious. This is what you're going to do. Number 1, her podcasts are amazing. You're going to do that anyway. And you're going to go and you're going to say, okay, when I think about this, you're going to hear me. When I think about what my bank account represents, and I don't even care if you have 0 in it, negative in it, or you have 100,000, you want to go to 200, or if you've got 500,000, you want to go to 1 million. I do not care. This happens everywhere. Doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum. When I look at my bank account, what are the qualities and characteristics that come up about me with my bank account? So if your bank account is not where you want it, what is a quality and characteristic? You could say, and you're all free from this. This is just examples I'm pulling from our clients. They'll say like, well, I'm lazy. I procrastinate. I don't know. I need another training. And you're following these qualities and characteristics, and you have them all listed down, whatever they are. The negative ones is where we're looking at. You always want to do positive, but we're looking at the negative. Then you ask yourself this question. When I look at all of those qualities and characteristics, what are my negative thoughts and emotions attached to that?
Got it. Oh, I love
So then
that.
you're going to say,
I love that.
fear, sadness, whatever it is. It could be frustration. It could be disappointment, whatever your negative thoughts. You need to pull out an emotion wheel. If you feel that you're not connected to your emotions, you need to say emotions.
Okay.
And some of
so
us,
you
that's
wouldn't
hard.
say, I hear I'm a failure, I'm stupid.
Okay.
You would say, I
when you
feel disappointed and frustrated.
So you would ask yourself, so if you hear, say that one more time.
I'm making it up, but it was like, I was like, I don't know. I have this knack for hearing the audience, right?
Yes,
so
idiot.
I'm stupid. I'm a failure. I don't know what I'm doing. Everyone else has this figured out, like those kinds of.
So when you hear, so I'm going to ask you, Sarah, and you can make it up still too. When you hear that you're stupid and that you're a failure, what do you feel right there? When you hear that in your mind, what do you feel?
I get
frustrated.
I get like pissed. I'm like,
pissed.
Oh yeah.
Anger.
Yeah. It's
okay.
Yeah.
So you need to find the feeling from the thoughts. So the thoughts are very important. That thought of, I think I'm a failure. I think I'm not smart enough. The thoughts are very important. A lot of coaches will stop at the thought. Yes. When you think that, or know that, some people will say, I have a knowing. When you know that, what do you feel? Because you have to get into the emotional mind. So if you feel pissed off, then you go and you say, okay, Sarah, in the context of money, you always want to say in the context that they're talking about. Okay. Where was the first time this is the question. What was the first time you felt anger around money or experienced anger?
I have a story. Do you want it?
Yes. If you have time, I want it.
Stepbrother, I broke my leg. I was
right
on the
there.
Top bunk. So I couldn't go to the top bunk anymore. And I'd saved all of my money, all $7. And he had to go on the top bunk when I broke my leg. And he took my $7. I was so mad.
Okay. So 0 to 7. No, dead serious, ladies.
Just
this
came
is
back
exactly
to me just
what
now.
I do.
Yeah.
Because this is how powerful this work is. You were making it up, and then your unconscious
mind's
like,
it's real. It's so fun.
Oh, heck
I
no.
love it.
I'm going to give you real stuff, Jen. And I said, bring it on. Okay. So when you think, so she remembers the first time she was angry about money.
Right.
So next question. What did that represent that he took your money? So go ahead, ask your unconscious mind. What did that represent that he took your money?
Do you know what came up immediately? It's funny. It was the first thought I had was, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I should have protected it. That's the very first thing that comes up for me. It represented that I wasn't careful enough. Okay. So now I'm not saying that Sarah has any challenges with her bank account. I just want to, so this is the next question is, if at all, so you always say that as a coach, you never want to project what you think. It's if at all, how is you not protecting your money or thinking you're not smart enough related to your bank account today? If at all, is it connected? I think it's that I always want more in it. I mean, you know, when you said at the beginning, I don't care if it's here and I want it to go here. I don't care if it's that I'm always like, there should be more in there. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong, but it's a constant feeling of there should be more in there. There should be more in there because she had a loss of money at 7. That's fantastic. That's how you coach. The best podcast episode ever. So we found the root cause. We found the root. So again, your clients are coming to you, ladies and gentlemen, with the presenting problem. I don't have enough money in my bank account. Great. That's a presenting problem. That's what they should be coming to you. But you don't want to coach them about how you don't want to go release. When did I decide I didn't have enough money? No. Then you find the greater problem. The greater problem was the negative thought and emotion. Then you find the root, and then but you have to make sure they can connect. They have to connect, and not you. You're the coach. You're an expert in the coaching process. God, I think that is so important for coaches to hear, Jen, is it's really about like holding the space for someone to go through something, not telling them what to do or what they should be feeling. If any of you right now, I want to go back to this, but I want to pinpoint what you just said. If any of you coaches on the line right now think that you aren't, because you haven't gone what they've gone through, right, or you don't have that situation, you can't coach them, that's actually why you should not be a coach, to be totally fair. If you think that, you should not be a coach, because now you're just looking for someone else to heal your stuff. What you do want to say as being a coach is, I am an expert in the coaching process. It doesn't matter what you give me. I can coach you through it because I'm an expert in the coaching process. You do not have to give advice, because that's your inner ego, inner child, or inner critic wanting validation. Nope.
You are an expert in the coaching process. When you make that switch right now, because I know all of you on here are an expert in the coaching process, you just need to flip the switch so that you can lead from your intuition and know that you don't have to be through their problem. My business partner is 30 years old, never been married. And we have coached more divorced people. And I even did it when I was still married, more divorced people than ever, because it's not about and then he's younger, right? So they're like, oh, well, you're too young. How do you know? I've been married for 30 years. You're not even married. You're 30.
Because the process is
the process.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, that's the golden nugget. So let me go back. I'm going to circle back and close up the loop that we started with Sarah's example. So when you go to the root cause, the root is when she said, hey, I want more money in my bank account. I get pissed off when I experience it. What was my root? My brother stole my $7. So and I'm going to make a mind read a little bit here because we're not in a full coaching session, is that she experienced a loss. Okay. So that's a little bit of a mind read. That wasn't her word. I don't want to use my word. So she experienced some kind of loss. So then she's got this feeling that she doesn't have enough because she lost something. She didn't protect it. So then she's not smart enough. So then you have to ask the question, if at all, how is that situation related to your presenting problem? You have to tie the two in or it doesn't work. That's the integration of the conscious, unconscious mind. And she's like, oh my gosh.
Is that where the intuition starts to affect wealth? Is that connection of like your intuition comes in and says, what are we learning?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly. So once you make that connection, so that's the next step is you make the connection. If at all, how is it related? She goes, oh no, it's related. Great. Now let's go back to this event. We're not therapy. We don't care about we're not trying to relive the event. We go back to the event and we say, Sarah, and we do this in timeline therapy, but we say, Sarah, what would you want that version of yourself to know? And you heal that portion of your mind and it'll heal and I guarantee you, you're going to, just by us bringing this conscious, Sarah, something's going to come and manifest in the next little bit for you because your intuition said, Sarah, no blaming and shaming little Sarah.
Right.
Little Sarah got to be mad. She was 7. She got to be mad.
Leg.
So don't blame and have a broken leg. So don't blame and shame that. Say, what did you want that version of yourself to know? Sarah, you were strong and brave and courageous. You broke your leg. You were powerful, whatever that like you're magical, whatever your intuition wants you to know about that, Sarah, that version in your unconscious mind heals that. And now big Sarah doesn't have to project lack anymore or loss.
Love this. So good.
She gets to say, wow, I am strong, powerful, courageous. And then she takes the inspired action that comes from her intuition. Because when you're living in lack or you're living in that, her word is like, but when you're living in whatever that root cause is, you're not listening to your intuitive hits.
Love it. That's going to block it from moving forward. This makes 100%. So much sense. Jenn, this is so awesome. I mean, I think we could probably talk for another 3.5 hours. Maybe we will.
I'll come back. Just have me come back. We'll do a part 2.
I know. So good. So good. But listen, Jenn, if people are like, oh my gosh, I need some more of Jenn, where should they go to find more about how to hang out with you or how to learn more?
Beautiful. Absolutely. So you can find us on all the socials under Genius Unlocked. We have Facebook, Instagram. I do my meditations on Insight Timer. You can search my name, Jenn Beninger, if you want to do more intuition. And I'm actually going to give you that gift. So I'm going to give you 2 gifts. I'm going to give you 2 gifts. So you can find us on all of the socials and then you can find us in the gifts. So the first gift is it's a 90-second quiz that will tap into your unconscious mind and it'll tell you the block that you're having in your coaching business. Right. So it'll take you 90 seconds. We'll email you the results and then we'll give you some tools on how to shift that like I did today. Then the second free gift, which is my personal favorite, is going to be a series of meditations that take you from discovering your intuition, understanding how it communicates with you, trusting it, and then taking the inspired action. So you all are stuck on one of those 4.
Love it.
Most likely trusting it or taking the inspired action. So it's a meditation series. Please listen to them in order because it takes you on a journey of doing those 4 things: discovering, understanding, trusting, and implementing, and taking that inspired action, and then trusting that your intuition always has your best interest at heart. And it's like a GPS. It'll always lead you. It'll lead you to where you deserve to go. So take that inspired action and then watch your wealth grow when you release those negative thoughts and emotions that you created. Like mine was, I grew up, my grandfather was in real estate and everyone said he's a shyster. So I grew up with this thought that if I make
That it
too
must
much
be.
money,
Yeah.
I'm a shyster.
Right.
He was in real estate.
Right.
I'm like, but to my rest
That
of my
son of a
family
gun. Yeah.
that had corporate jobs,
Right.
were like, oh, that's a shyster. So I had to heal that. What did that represent? So I would make money, but not keep it.
Mhm.
So how many of you, like, you'll make 100,000, spend 101. You'll make 500,000, you'll spend 501. You make $1 million, you'll spend $1,000,001. Because I thought if I kept the money, I was a shyster. I cleaned that up. Our business hit 7 figures 30 days later. Not even kidding.
I love that. Oh my God. Right there. That's headline. I want that on a bumper sticker. So good. Oh, Jenn, thank you so much for
Instant
all of the
change.
goodness you gave us today. So grateful.
My
Girlfriends,
pleasure.
let's get to work. That was
Let's
so
get
fun. And I hope we get to talk to you again soon.
Would love to do so. And thank you all. And yes, this is a great podcast for you. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, listen to more, because understanding us as coaches and as women and how we operate and how our brains work and how we can create the change that we want to see in the world, this is the place to get all of that information. So Sarah, thank you for having me as a guest. Yes. It was my pleasure.
Oh, Jenn, thank you so much.